Hello, my name is Carlita Lockett. I am here to present my capstone project, which was focused on developing a proposal to create a clear forensic unit. Currently, I work at a state facility that houses patients who are mentally ill and classified as not guilty by reason of insanity, or they are classified as incompetent to stand trial, unrestorable, incompetent to stand trial, uh, restorable, or they are restored to competency. And we also house civil patients. Civil patients are the patients who have not committed a crime or who have said they're going to harm themselves or someone else, or they just need to be stabilized on their medication. So for them, they're here short term and they're usually discharged fairly soon, from a couple days to a few months at the most. The forensic patients that we house, they are generally kept for no less than 6 months, depending on their crime. If they just have their conditional release revoked, they just come for restabilization again and remain on the court docket, or they stay for several years up to several decades. These are patients who have committed crimes against someone else, and it's not, and they generally serve their time here, and it's not easy for them to get discharged. Here at the facility, we work off a level system to help get the patients discharged. But so based on the rules that the forensic patients have, I felt it was important that I help develop a proposal to create a forensic unit which would allow them to have improved quality of care, improve quality of life, create some autonomy, things like that, to give them like a sense of meaning since they'll be here for such an extended period of time. Okay, so creating the proposal for, again, like I said, my patients, the ones that are housed on this specific unit, are not guilty by reason of insanity. And they are generally here until they either level out, which we have the level system. They are from 1 to 5, and 1 is the least restrictive, 5 being the most. 5 being the least restrictive, 1 being the least. 1 being the least. 1 being the most restrictive. Level 1 is the most restrictive, and 5 being the least restrictive. When they come to our facility, the majority of the time, I'm sorry, I have to sit down because you can't see me and the screen. This was the best way I could figure it out. When they come to our facility, they generally are here longer than the time they would have served if they were in a prison or a jail, not a mental institution. So for that reason, they don't have that much exposure to the community other than going on medical trips to the community. So that's why this project was important, because I think it's important for them to have access to the community so they can have some skills once they're discharged. Okay. Okay. In the clear unit, like I say, they go from level 1 to 5, 1 being the most restrictive and 5 being the least restrictive. Level 1 allows you no privileges. 2, you can go to 2 and 3, and 3 you can go to groups. 4 you can go to medical appointments, and 5 you go to still it's the same community level appointments. It's not very different. 4 and 5 are similar. you still don't have that much autonomy at this point right now. Through the proposal, it would allow the patients with level 4 and 5 to have the ability to escort independently throughout the facility and the grounds for work and rehabilitation groups, because here they are expected to attend groups and they go to work, the patient employment program, and other activities that are held throughout the facility. This, right now, they currently need to be supervised by staff, which we will escort them down to the activities and pick them back up and bring them back. But with the proposal, they will be allowed to escort independently, which helps create some autonomy in that manner and a form of independence and just responsibility, so you can see how they manage on their own when it's time for them to become discharged. The proposal will also allow level 5 patients to attend community outings with family members and unsupervised that are unsupervised by staff, and the opportunity to obtain employment in the community which is unsupervised by staff. Now, as you'll see further on in the PowerPoint, they will have some type of supervision, but it won't be direct. It'll be indirectly. A staff member will help them while they're out in the community, just as far as placement and talking with the employer. The proposal would also give level 4 and 5 patients the ability, again, as I said, to work outside of the facility on the grounds, but within the perimeter. Like they will have the ability to go outside of the exit doors, but we would trust them enough to stay within the perimeter of the grounds so they can participate in things like the garden club, which would obviously build a garden outside where we have plenty of land, or like a walking exercise group where they could walk the grounds around the facility to give exercise, or any other group that the rehabilitation department may see may be helpful with the patients and their helping along with their success towards discharge. Okay, during the capstone, the bridge was gapped by providing research stating the importance of preparing forensic patients for discharge. It expressed the importance of patient-centered care, and it has shown ways to improve outcomes for discharge in regards to the patients. And I was able to utilize evidence-based literature and things like that to help build a more firm discussion about the proposal. Now, like I say, the proposal provided. Maybe I should. The proposal project provided research stating that the importance of preparing forensic patients for discharge by exposing patients to societal and community activities prior to discharge greatly reduces the likelihood of patient reoffending or becoming readmitted. So because patients don't have as much access to the community, they are prone to have develop phobias that generally you wouldn't see if the patient was out in the community, or they would just have like more anxiety than normal if they go out into the community. So this way they'll be able to interact with the community, and you'll be able to determine if they're a good fit, or some things you need to adjust within themselves before they're able to go actively become discharged in the community and reduce the possibility of them becoming readmitted. Okay, this is going to be fun. The project expressed the importance of patient-centered care, and it did that by allowing the patients to have some autonomy and the ability to make their own decisions. Now, the patients being able to escort themselves from the unit to groups, back to the unit, downstairs to work and other activities, that again creates independence, and it allows them the freedom and gives them some autonomy. And during the development of the proposal, some of the patients, the selected patients, they were talked with, and a conversation was had regarding what they would like to see, how did they feel about it, what things would maybe create an issue for them, and that information was taken back and utilized in further production of the proposal or development of the proposal. Also, the patient suggestions were heard again, and administration was able to hear them as well, so they could have a say-so in their own actions and their own their own activities, so they could feel like so they could know this is for you, and however you best see fit, as long as it's safe for everyone, and we just want to address any issues that may come across for them. And the final way the bridge was gapped was the proposal was gapped. The project proposal found ways to improve outcomes for discharge. Again, exposing the patients to possible scenarios that could develop in the community could identify which areas require more focus. Now, some of the patients in the development of the proposal, all of them won't go to work. Some are stable, but not stable enough to attend work. So we just would need to allow them to go to community trips, like the zoo, go to restaurants for meals, or like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like just small botanical garden, things like that, to give them some exposure to be outside of the facility, but not necessarily discharged or unsupervised. Those patients would be supervised still, because everyone's not ready. And again, as I stated in the last slide, phobias that generally you wouldn't think you would notice, but we actually had a patient who was afraid of stairs. But that's because here everyone transports to the elevator, from the elevator. There are no use of stairs. So after being here 25 years of no stairs, it becomes something that you would generally think about being afraid of. But that would allow us the ability to help him get familiar with the use of stairs and get comfortable with that again, without having huge anxiety when going out on trips or when he is finally discharged. And it provides the patient with a sense of empowerment. So, what was the process to develop and launch the project, the Capstone project? Well, for the project, I needed to gather data to the stakeholders And the stakeholders here are the administration, staff, nursing staff, social workers, team members, RNs, the patients, and physicians. Those stakeholders are extremely important because they directly will be affected one way or the other if the proposal was accepted. So they will play a huge part in determining patients' actions and other things like that. After I spoke with the stakeholders, I expressed that there's one other state facility that has a clear unit that is up and operational and doing great. And from that experience, I was able to share some of the difficulties, some of the wins, or some of the things that were working and some of the things that needed to be tweaked early on. So if our proposal or my proposal was not fully accepted, I would be able to provide information and documentation on what areas we could possibly work on. And I also composed a list of the patients with the help of administration and nursing staff to determine which patients were best suited for this. And then from that list, I spoke to the patients to see if they would even be interested in becoming part of the proposal, of developing the proposal. And once that list was composed, I gathered the list and gave it to the patients. And gave it to the administration so they could give one final once-over to determine if those patients would be suitable for them to go through with the project. Okay. Also, I needed to speak with the IT developer key fob that would allow patients access to additional areas of the facility, but without access to exit doors. So these are the patients that are stable on medications now, but may not qualify for necessary community outings or working in the community, or may not do well outside of the perimeter. So there's a few levels of patients that would be able to participate in the project proposal. Not every patient with level 4 or 5 would have the same rules. Currently, all the staff use a key fob to get in and out of the facility. So after speaking with IT, they use a similar fob for visitors. So the patients would use a key fob similar to that to allow them access throughout the facility, but not to leave the facility. And I also needed to speak with maintenance to identify any potential safety hazards that the patients may encounter. Since they are going into unknown areas or unusual areas that they're not, usually in, it is important to identify any areas that they may hurt themselves or that could create a safety hazard. So after we did that, I was then able to take that data and everything I've gathered and present it to the administration and some stakeholders via PowerPoint, which is very similar to this PowerPoint. And from that, I addressed any issues they had, which were minimal because they were comfortable knowing that another facility was utilizing a clear forensic unit actively. So that was okay. And then I had to officially wait for Central Administration Office for approval and to establish a start date. Now, we have a nursing administration located on grounds here, but because it's a creation of a forensic clear unit, the administration located in the remote, centrally located in the state, you are required to inform them of changes that are happening at your facility. So once I got all the information provided, I went and gave them a final proposal, all the information I gathered, and awaiting the approval to establish a start date for the project. Now, in the project, I mean, I'm really, I really believe in the project. So it was, I was really able to feel as if I had a few successes in the project. The most successful aspects of this project for me was the project was easily accepted due to another facility running a clear forensic unit. So that was helpful. And again, like it was another resource that would be needed if if the proposal was approved to create a forensic clear unit. And because of that, and for the other reasons and the things that the clear unit would bring to the facility, staff were motivated because they saw the value in the proposal. Because with this proposal, staffing will be different on that floor. You wouldn't have so many, the patient staff ratio would be different. It may be higher, but it's not harder work because the patients are basically independent, and that floor would run similar to a group home where the patients, they're responsible for coming and going and being responsible for their own things. And it also shows that forensic patients can be successful upon discharge, even with the difficulties they can face in the community. It shows that if you give them the tools that they need, they'll be able to manipulate and function just fine in the community, which is what you want for your patients. You want them to be able to leave and have a meaningful life, or while they're there, feel like they have a meaningful life and they're doing things that have meaning and are helpful and resourceful and giving them a skill set that they generally might not have if the proposal was not developed. So that was good. And again, like I said, the staffing numbers will be reduced because they will require less staff on that particular floor. So the aspects of the project that did not go well, I can happily say that I did not experience any aspects of the project that did not go well. But what I chose to do was, if the project didn't go well, some of the aspects that could have created an issue would have been the stakeholders were not on board. They would have difficulties, and but again, I didn't have those kind of problems with my project, because again, the stakeholders saw the value in the proposal. Everyone was full of ideas and interest because of how beneficial it would be for the patients and how important it is for them to be successful upon discharge. And that's always our goal here, to have patients come in, we rehabilitate them, provide them with life skills, community living skills, and send them back out when they're discharged, and they maintain a good quality of life and hopefully won't have to come back here. So again, I did not experience any aspects of this project that did not go well, which was really a good thing from my perspective. So the benefit of aspects from the proposal that did not go well for future projects. Again, I did not have those issues, but if I did, I would want to improve my resources, provide more evidence-based research to support the project, describe the pros and cons in a way that clearly expresses the goal, and to reiterate, I did not have any issues with the project. But the way this project was set up, these are some areas that could have caused an issue, but because the stakeholders saw the value in the development of a proposal, I didn't face too much of a pushback from the staff members or administration. Okay, so my organizational plan to support the post-implementation of the project in the short term. The short-term maintenance of the project would be to maintain a list of potential patients whose levels are forever changing because it's all based on court and when the judge moves, when the judge decides, the levels can change at any time, and just constantly just evaluate when the patient can be possibly moved to the forensic clear unit, and adjusting the organization for the creation of a clear unit. Now, I put that as a short-term goal because you really only need to do this one time. Once that's done, it's done. You don't have to it's not a long-standing process. You just need to do it, and from there, things will go on their own. And as far as a long-term maintenance, lowering the staffing numbers, that would be more of a permanent situation to change the staffing model for that particular unit, reducing the number of RNs versus TPNs versus patients and things of that nature. So that would be part of long-term maintenance. And also create a policy and procedure stating the expectations of patients and staff who work on the clear unit, which now that's a long term because as the proposal turns into an actual living thing, then you may have to make some adjustments based off the way the patients are responding to the project or the way staff are. So you just have to constantly tweak the policy and procedure to make sure everyone maintains safety and things are as they should be, and there's no violations or any misconduct happening. And also a long-term maintenance goal is to develop a new position in the rehab department to assist patients from the clear forensic unit. Now, this staff member would provide as a liaison between the facility and the employers. They would set up the interviews for the patients. The management would speak to that rehab staff if they had an issue with the patient. And so they would just serve as a communication between the patient and the facility in order for us to know what things where the patient is faltering or where they're having difficulties or things like that, so we can work on them and help them stay employed at the position. Or sometimes employment may not just be an option for everyone. So that's something else that person would do. So that's a long term, because that position needs to stay as long as there's a clear unit being ran. The resources needed for post-implementation support would be additional staff for patients working in the community, which is, as I said, the the rehab worker working in the community as a liaison. And the rehab director to oversee the rehabilitation staff. Now, that's necessary because when you develop a position, someone has to oversee that staff member. So this would just be an additional task for the rehab director to she fulfill that spot and make sure that everything is running smoothly. But mainly the new rehab person would just report back any difficulties or things that they may need to do or decisions they need to make that they cannot do on their own. Also, IT would need to oversee the patient key files because that's imperative to the success of the program. Of the project, because that gives them access to and from the floors without difficulties and allows the independence and autonomy that which is one of the benefits of the program. And also transportation would need to be involved because we need them to transport the patients that work in the community to their employer, because we can't allow them to catch an Uber or a Lyft or cab. They're still our responsibility. Although they're level 5 and independent, we still have to take care of them. So to ensure that they get to and from work properly, our transportation department would just need to be aware of their schedule and make sure and help in that manner. Now, the two MSN in the project, there were two MSN programs, two MSN program outcomes that were integrated. Now, for me, the first one would be the employ appropriate patient care technologies and inform management strategies to improve quality outcomes. For me, that meant by the project using the implementation of key fobs and the data from the other state forensic clear unit to determine strategies they use to improve quality care. So the use of introducing a key fob, that was an appropriate patient care technology, and using data, the evidence-based data from the literature, and utilizing the information from the other state facility were ways to improve quality care outcomes based off of the project. The second outcome was to design innovative nursing practices to impact quality outcomes for individuals, populations, and systems congruent with ethical, professional, and legal standards. So just the whole project in general, develop a process that allows patients to walk independently through the facility to work in groups, as well as introduce forensic patients to community living. Now, throughout the entire discussion and the project proposal, this was always important that ethical, professional, and legal standards were always met. So that's why this particular program outcome is really specific to the development of the project. So hopefully you feel as if you can see the benefit in the development of the proposal to create a clear forensic unit and the importance of it, and this PowerPoint has done just that for you. So again, I am Carlita Lockett, and I appreciate your time and attendance, and Happy New Year. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.